Hey guys, it's your girl Yasmin. Welcome back to the Small Business Spotlight podcast. In the studio today, I have someone very, very interesting. What she does is really interesting and intriguing. I want to dive right into Lupita, who's my guest. Welcome, Lupita, to the studio.
Thank you so much.
Going right in, can you tell me a little bit about you and what Ignite the Fire Inside Wellness is?
So, I have been an entrepreneur now for 10 years. While I was living in New York, I lived there for 10 years. That's when the bug hit me. And it was when I was working at an ad agency. And they had said, okay, go to Buenos Aires to meet our team there for the month. Go work from there. I was a production assistant there, producer. And I kind of escaped a little bit for a weekend. I went to El Calafate, that's where the glaciers are, in the southernmost point of Argentina. And I'm there and I'm walking down this boardwalk, and you can see glimpses of the glacier. I've never seen a glacier before this moment. And I make it, and I'm looking at this majestic view. Speechless, awe, all the words you could ever imagine of something you've never seen, but just you feel like an ant. And at the same time, you just see this creation in front of you. You're wondering, like, how did this come to be? And in that moment, while I'm seeing this, is where I have like this deeper connection to myself. Almost as if my whole life flashed before my eyes of all the hard work that I've done up to then, living in New York, working for a company that was amazing, having a position that I think people will be dreaming of. And then in that moment, I just kind of like asked myself, is this what you really want to be doing? Like, is this really all there is? And really, it started from that moment because from seeing that glacier to then going to a couple of seminars, having a couple of coaches that I worked with to kind of dive deeper, I realized that I really loved being able to help other people, which I was already doing in the role that I was in, managing teams across different time zones. And I decided, okay, let me go down the road of becoming a coach. And like most people, I guess, when you go down the road of being a coach, you wonder, who do you want to work with?
Right. So when you say coach, did you already in your mind have an idea of what it is, what kind of coach you wanted to be?
At that moment, no.
Okay.
At that moment, no. I think that within myself, it was very general. And so I thought, I want to be a life coach. So I went down that path for a little bit and I realized no. And some of the reasons were because of the clients that I was working with. They would come to me to help them, but they weren't actually doing anything. So, so it was almost as if, oh, I want to hire you to help me create systems and 1, 2, 3 sort of things. But when we would follow up, they weren't actually taking any action. So then I hired a coach that said to me, hey, is there something that you love talking about? Something that if you were to wake up the next morning, even if it's a Monday, you don't have the case of Mondays. You have the case of, I have 3 clients today,
Right.
and they are amazing, and I'm going to talk about this. And at that point, I was 3 years into my entrepreneurship journey, still working my full-time job and, looking for clients. And that coach really helped me so much to kind of dig deeper. And that's when I said, I want to talk about business. I want to talk about entrepreneurship because when I began 3 years prior, there wasn't really anyone around me that was really orienting me. It was just like I was Googling, looking for courses. And it really wasn't up until year 4 or 5 of my entrepreneurship journey where I really pinpointed the type of business coach that I wanted to be. Because up to that point, I took courses, I had my own coaches, and it was all around strategy, which is wonderful. Right. I think it's important. I think coming from a production background for me, that helped me a lot. Project management, being able to have resource allocation, being able to see my actual time of how much I'm spending with my team. So all that was very clear to me. So when I was coaching, that was working with my clients. But what wasn't working was mindset. What wasn't working is them actually knowing their limiting beliefs. What wasn't working, because I saw it, was they were overscheduling themselves. So in their businesses, by the time I met with them, they were burnt out. They didn't realize they were burnt out. And for me, I had many burnout moments that ended me in the hospital that were really big eye openers. And that's where this part of meditation, this part of the holistic way of integrating what I do, which is business strategy with a holistic side. So it's mindset, it's sound baths, It's even aromatherapy. Finding ways to kind of get out of, I would say, the little hamster wheel
Right. Okay.
of rumination, of overthinking. And, I tested it on myself because at that point, nobody was talking about it. You either were all woo-woo, the trees, let's walk and put feet in the dirt. Like it was either you were all there
Right.
or it was all just black and white strategy. And for me, the whole thing of like taking off my shoes and walking in the park at that time, I was like, how does that help me be successful in my business? I feel like that's taking me away from my business. When am I going to sit down and write my social media content? When am I going to rewrite my website? All the things that are practical. And so what came to me was a friend of mine invited me to a sound bath. And I always tell this story because it's true. And that's how I felt at that time. And he said to me, listen, you're living in New York. You're really stressed out. Just come to a sound bath. You're going to get to rest, maybe even take a nap. You'll feel recharged. And my thought at the moment was, what? People go to a room with strangers and you take a nap? Okay,
Yeah.
these people are crazy. Like
I can do that at home.
But this was one of my best friends, and he had already been doing it. He was living in New York like I was, so I'm like, well, you get me. And I can't explain fully until you've been to a sound bath. That's when you know what I'm going to tell you right now. Is I walked in, I saw about 10 people. They were all getting ready. It was my first time. I'm like, what do I do? I got a mat. I'm rolling it out. I got a blanket. And I'm like sitting there, and the practitioner is like, oh, you can sit or you can lie down. I'm going to start playing the bowls. You're going to hear really soothing music. It's just me playing. And if you fall asleep, it's okay. And I'm like, I'm never going to go to sleep.
Right.
I need to keep my eyes open. What are you all doing here? Right.
Right.
So I lay down and I'm like, and then there was a moment where I told myself, if you don't trust this, then why are you here?
Right.
Like the same way that I speak to my clients is, they're trusting me with certain systems and protocols and tools that I know work. And here's a friend who told me, hey, just give it a go. So I closed my eyes and I'm like, okay, I'm going to just be here. So I close my eyes and the gal, she starts playing the bowls. I don't see her, right? But I hear it. And in that moment, it's like surreal. I feel like I'm there again. I felt my whole body just sink deeper into the yoga mat. Okay. No one was touching me because I opened my eyes. I'm like, who's touching me? Right. But no, what I learned later was when I was lying on the yoga mat, I was lying there, but I wasn't resting. It's very different. Okay, yes. So our nervous systems, right, can still be on alert, even when we're laying down. So what I learned later was the sound of those crystal quartz bowls were helping my nervous system almost like take a deep sigh, like, and my body just sunk. And I fell asleep. I didn't even know when I fell asleep. And that was the beginning of where I said, there has to be something to this. And then I went into like this huge science rabbit hole. And then I started testing it, where I would do strategy for my own business on myself. And then there were times where I felt stuck, where I was doing, I was like, it worked before, why doesn't it work anymore? And then I would go to a sound bath that week. As soon as I got out of the sound bath, I had so many ideas. I had so much clarity. If I had a decision of like A or B and I was like, they're both amazing. I came out of the sound bath, it was like, it's B. And it's not just B, it's like do B and then the sub of A, B, C, D under there. I had so much clarity. So I would always be walking around my phone recording my ideas after a sound bath because they just came so easily. So that was the first step. The second step was, does this work for everybody else? It was just a Lupita thing.
It's a Lupita thing.
I'm like, maybe I'm just that weird and cool, So one of my very first clients who I've known for a while, I said, listen, I've been doing something. It's going to sound like you're taking naps, but will you do it? And she was like, yeah, I mean, I already trust you with what I'm doing in my business. Yeah, of course. So she didn't live near me. So I helped and I vetted a place for her to go to a sound bath. And I said, I want you to have an intention, right? An intention, I said, means that before you step in, think of it like you're asking yourself a question. So I said to her, you've been asking me if you should be adding a new program or a new product to your business. I said, all I can do is we can think of different scenarios, but it's going to be up to you. It's your business.
Right.
I'm a coach. I'm not consulting you.
Right.
So I said, before you go in, just write it on a piece of paper. I don't even want to tell you what you're going to experience in a sound bath. Just go. And when you come out, I said, be ready to write, like to speak a voice note. Same thing happened to her. She came out, she did her voice note. She sent it to me, actually. She was like, I can't believe this is amazing, you know. And so I thought, okay, I said to myself, how can I really integrate this with my clients so they're not just going to random people
Right.
to get sound baths? So then I went down the path of becoming certified as a sound practitioner. So I actually lead sound baths as well. So I'll either lead it in person with my clients, or I'll even record myself, or we'll be on Zoom. So we're going through the different meditations together. But what I like to say is, it's really a way to almost like rewire your brain a little bit, because I don't know about you, but for me, there comes a point where I can only push for so long. And the type of patterns that we've developed, you know, when we're children to now to being adults, they only work for so long.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, you're constantly, hopefully, innovating. Hopefully.
Right.
That's what I've learned in 10 years, is when I'm not innovating, it means that I need to really take a step back, because it means that I'm repeating old patterns and they're not working.
Right.
So what I realize is that my clients that really embrace this, I saw them grow, like not just their business, but this next part of mindfulness, this next part of meditation was all around rest. And this is one of my key philosophies, is that rest equals revenue. And this is something that I've tested for the past 5 years with me and my clients. And it's very simple. So my phone is on Do Not Disturb in airplane mode most of the day. Okay. So from 10 p.m. to about 11 a.m. the next day, you can't get a hold of me.
Right.
Okay. And that's on purpose, because I worked in advertising where every single second, everything was urgent. So I needed to rewire that when I went into being an entrepreneur for my clients as well. And so this rest equals revenue, the concept is this. If you actually set time apart and you're intentional, which means that I'm not on my phone, I'm not sending an email, that rest can mean anything. Your rest is different than mine.
Right.
For me, it's going to a park.
Okay.
I have a blanket, I sit under a tree, I don't have technology with me. I'm not trying to always capture the moment. I'm being present.
Right.
That's my rest. The moment that I leave that rest area, I get back to my car, turn my phone back on, I'm checking, okay, what's my next appointment or whatever it is I'm doing. Without fail, it sounds crazy, because I'm not manifesting anything. I don't believe in manifesting. I believe in action. This is why for me it was very difficult at the beginning to embrace meditating, to embrace slowing down, to embrace pausing, because I came from a childhood where aquí hacemos todo, like we do everything.
Right.
Okay, somebody's not gonna do it for you, you do it for yourself. So when I started noticing this philosophy becoming true of when I rested, revenue came in. There was a DM, there was an email, there was a phone call. Someone was buying a coaching package. Someone was inquiring about a sound bath they wanted to book me for. So whether actual money was hitting my bank account or there was an inquiry of revenue, the possibility of that really blew my mind. Because I told my clients, this is wild, but if you actually look at your calendar week by week and you set a time that you feel good, it can be 30 minutes, it can be an hour, whatever that rest time is. I don't ever tell them what to do.
Right.
Like, you should figure out what's good for you. But you actually rest. Like, don't think about, oh my gosh, that client didn't answer me and I got a message. Let it be. I'm like, as soon as you connect again, I want you to let me know within the first 24 hours, did anything shift? And every single one of my clients tell me, Lupita, it works. I don't know why, but it works. So what started happening is all my clients that were hesitant to slow down, hesitant to embrace rest, now they had the proof
That it works.
that it really
That
works.
this strategy that you tell your clients to pretty much, it's like you're saying, it's rest for it's rest for you, it's rest for the body, but it's also rest for your mind. Putting your mind to rest for once, because as entrepreneurs, obviously we're always on the go. We're like, I need to make, what is the next content? I need to create content. I need to create this, and this. How am I going to, So I think I agree with that. I think it's definitely important to rest and give each other time to just get away from technology, especially technology, because it's horrible for us. And especially, I have a really bad habit of like, I'm in bed and I'm just scrolling and scrolling. So at times I really had to be like, you know what, put this down, let me read. Because I like to read. That's how I decompress. I love reading a book. And it's really true what you're saying is that, because when I'm reading my book, it's like my mind is so clear now. And I'm like, all my ideas are when I'm not on my phone and when I'm reading my book. It's crazy. So I can really understand what it is that you're saying. Like, it happens to me a lot all the time. So you work with a lot of entrepreneur perfectionists. How did you realize that was the group you wanted to serve? Obviously you are, but you're an entrepreneur yourself.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason why, I started as a life coach, then having that epiphany of, I really love talking about business. I really want to help the entrepreneur the way I didn't find that help when I started, right? And then I went deeper. Okay, what type of entrepreneur? What stage of their business? What aspect or tools of being an entrepreneur can I bring to the table as a coach, right? All these different things. So because I worked in the advertising world, I knew a lot about social media. I knew a lot about design. I knew a lot of things. And so I said to myself, if I look back at me, because a lot of the times they'll say, who you work best with is an old version of you, because you get to see all these little things. You're like, if only, don't worry, in 2 years you're gonna get over that. It's not a big deal,
Right.
that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So I said to myself, all right. Growing up, I had a lot of perfectionist tendencies. A lot of that just came from being the oldest daughter in a Hispanic family. Okay?
Right.
Whether they put pressure on me or not, I put it on myself. So what I learned is I gravitated to that type of entrepreneur who was ambitious, who was purposeful driven. And there was some perfectionist tendencies in there. And what I also saw was also the kind of client that always connected with me at the beginning would give me pushback on this rest component. And it was fun for me. Like, I loved it. And the reason I loved it is because I know what that felt like. Because when you tell somebody who's so driven to stop and slow down, it's like you're cursing at them.
Yeah, they're like, what? You want me to slow down? I can't. Yeah. Yeah.
So I figured out, at this point of my business now, the phase that I love working in entrepreneurship with my clients, they're usually in 4 to 7 years into their business.
Okay.
Okay. I work with the whole gamut. And the reason that feels really good and those clients we do really well together is because they've already gotten through that messy beginning. And I've worked with the newbies in the past.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, maybe you know this. When you work with somebody who's new in entrepreneurship, it feels like you're trying to always convince them to be an entrepreneur. That's what happened to me. I'm like, this is your business. I can help you have systems and protocols and everything, but if you're not doing it, you're wasting your time hiring me,
Right. You can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. You can't.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, okay, the newbies are great because I love that passion and it's like, let's get scrappy. I'm like, let's get scrappy, but let's do it. Like,
Right.
Don't just keep thinking about it. But I felt that the 4 to 7 year mark was really good. And the reason I'll tell you is because for me at year 5 and 6 of my entrepreneurship journey is really probably one of the times of my, I guess, like my heart and my business vision shifted for the better. But it was also a very dark time because during that time it was, 2020. So a lot of things changed
Right.
during that time. And so I found myself needing to be flexible, looking for ways to adapt. I think everybody did.
Yeah.
But I think specifically because of the way that I was being a coach at that time, I felt like there were inconsistencies. of how I wanted to show up for my clients and how I was doing it. And that's where this whole component of the holistic side, because I really felt like we're whole people. I am not a robot to just work on my business. My clients are not just robots. They're not just, let me recharge here on the wall, have my battery to 100%, be at my business. What about at home with your family? What about you yourself being able to disconnect? There were so many other components. So we'd have conversations and they were just be like blank space, looking at me.
Right.
And so I think that 4 to 7 year mark is usually a good indication. If you make it 4 years, you will have a moment where you're doubting.
Yeah.
And you really need a coach at that moment, I'll tell you. Because everyone around you may not be seeing success yet. And they're like, yeah, come on, 4 years is enough. And what you don't know, let me tell you, what you don't know, in your 4th year, everything you've put your heart, sweat, and tears in, it'll feel like it was for naught. And those around you will doubt you. They love you, but they want to protect you. So they want to pull you back. But what you don't know is year 5, you're going to have a big spark. And what you don't know in year 6 is you're so glad that you didn't say no, that you kept saying yes day after day after day. And then it'll be 6 in year 7 where you're like, I can finally breathe, because that's exactly what happened to me. Even with all the resources that I had, I needed to go through that. Right. And I see the clients who hire me, they go through that too. So when they're, bringing up all these doubts, and I'm like, I know what you're going through. I went through it, and I went through it alone. You are not alone. Let's talk about it. Right. Let's create a framework to get you out of that space, but with you learning the lesson that needs to be learned. Because I don't know if you've ever had a coach, but the difference between a coach and a consultant, which I learned at the very beginning, was a consultant will tell you what to do. That's why you're hiring them. A coach, a really good coach, is asking really amazing questions.
Right. They're with you throughout the whole process, right by your side. Versus, yeah, okay, I get it.
But they're not really supposed to be giving you all the answers. Right? They'll ask you the questions and kind of lead you a little bit. Yeah, my current business coach that I have right now, she's absolutely phenomenal, and I'm so grateful for her. So that's where I see myself with my clients too, in that capacity.
Lupita, was there a moment where you felt stuck in your head or unsure if you were even qualified to do this kind of work when you started out? Did you have, obviously, you had doubts? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had a lot of doubts because at that point, I didn't even know if I wanted to be a coach or a consultant. I didn't know what type of coach I wanted to be. And because I was so new at entrepreneurship, period, I said to myself, who am I to coach anyone? But I will say what really helped me, and I recommend this to anybody as well, is when you're thinking about, am I qualified? Fill in the blank. Right. I like to say is take a moment, reflect, maybe get a piece of paper out and ask and write that question at the very top. Why am I qualified? Okay. And then you just think about every other position you've had before now, whether it's professional or personal, and then think about the characteristics about who you are. Think about the relationships that you've had. Maybe even think about the milestones. And all of that really will add up. And you'll look at you like, how could I ever doubt? And it might not be that, okay, at the beginning, it's how does somebody become a coach? Well, now with so much technology, you can just Google it or chat GPT it, right?
Yeah.
Back then, you really couldn't.
You actually had to do the work yourself and do the research yourself and read.
Yes. So I think now I'll do a little bit of tough love. If someone's like, I don't know what kind of coach I want to be, I'm like, you can literally go to ChatGPT, tell it everything about you, and say, I want to be a coach. What type of coach fits in my profile? That wasn't available 10 years ago.
Figure out just everything
right?
Who you are back on your own. Lupita, you talk about things like self-sabotage. Unworthiness and imposter syndrome. Which of these did you personally yourself have to work through the most?
I think the first one that really showed up really quickly was imposter syndrome. Because I went from the corporate creative world of advertising, leading teams and doing that very well, to now thinking, okay, I'm going to step away from this position that is paying me very well. I'm seen a certain way, and now I'm going to kind of like take a step back and see what does that look like financially? What kind of advice am I going to be giving? What is the certification that I need to get? Like I had so many questions. So imposter syndrome also came out at the beginning because at that time I was looking online. What do coaches look like? What do coaches talk about? Do I have depth to lead someone? I had all these questions. And so that one creeped up the most at the beginning. And then as I got my certification, as I started working with clients, and the clients themselves were like, oh my gosh, you're helping me with so much. And internally, I'm like, I am?
Like, damn, this is
Like,
working.
wow,
Okay.
wow, right? So sometimes, the imposter syndrome component is just because we don't see the evidence, but the evidence is there.
Right.
The evidence really is there. And I think now, being in year 10, it's more about when I look back over the past couple of years, what really is maybe stopping me. And I think it's more about like I'm very ambitious. So sometimes I want to bite off more than I can chew. So one of the exercises that I do with myself and my clients is I have a brain dump of everything that's going on here and going on here. Because these two things have two different stuff going on, right? So I brain dump everything, just write everything out. And then I just go through my process called the momentum process, where I think when we don't like write it out and take a step back, we can be so hard on ourselves and not really seeing what is my emotional capacity, okay? What is my time capacity? And then really seeing what are the other commitments that I have in my life? I'm not a robot. I have a sister, I have nephews, I have parents, I have friends who I love, who live in different countries. Like, I want to have a full life. And as much as I go sometimes into my little cubby of being a little bit of a recovering workaholic, because I love it, I love the work that I do, I need to also remember there's a whole other part of me that doesn't have to do with my business. And so that's what I really bring into my coaching with my clients a lot is I get you because you're passionate, you're ambitious, you're a bit of a workaholic. I get you, like I wear the badge too.
Right.
But what about the rest of you that you want to bring into your business? And maybe you don't, but it's a good question to ask ourselves.
Building a business can feel lonely. Obviously, you mentioned that you felt that way. Who or what supported you during the harder seasons of when you started Ignite?
Yes, starting a business is very, very challenging. I like to say, if you want to have an easy life, don't be an entrepreneur. Okay? If you just want to clock in and clock out and be oblivious of other things, it's not a negative. I'm so happy for you. But I had this passion to do it. Like I always like to say entrepreneurship really chose me and then I got to say yes, right? So I got to say yes. There's so many entrepreneurs that they get that and they're like, no, no, no. And sometimes they regret it. And sometimes they're like, no, I want to do the 9 to 5 and that's perfectly fine. So I think looking back on when I started, it really was more like my parents were supportive, but I think they really didn't get it either. So it was mostly the first half of like the first 5 years for me were, okay, where are there coaches I can hire? Can I be part of masterminds? Can I be in other like-minded groups, right? That was like the beginning. And then once I hit a certain point, then I'm like, okay, I need to hire some serious coaches to help me. And then I think that when my parents were like, oh, this isn't just a hobby. This is her full time, like this is what she's doing full time. I mean, again, they've always been supportive, but I think also, just parents in general, it's like, hey, we were leading you down this path and you chose this, but you're doing well, but we were leading down in this path, So I think now, year 10, they get it. There's no more like, are you sure you don't want to go get that job? That's
Right.
like they don't do that anymore,
This
right?
is what she does.
This
This is
is
her
what she does.
calling.
Yeah.
This is her.
And so my sister's always been supportive. I could count probably in one hand the friends who are like family, that I would call, that I would text and be like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. This is so hard. And they would, and this is why we need those people in our lives to remind us. And they would always say different things, right, that I would share with them, but they would remind me, Lupita, you said, and they would insert something. And I'm like, I said that. I don't know if I want to do it.
Right.
And then they would say, but remember that client that you helped? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, I remember. If you don't continue, what if that next client is waiting? So I think really having what I like to say, like a powerhouse around you.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know about you, but the 5 people that I know around me who are my friends, who I feel are like blood, they've picked me up so many times. And they themselves are powerhouses. Like they in their industry, whether it's in a regular job that they're doing and doing it incredibly well, or they're entrepreneurs themselves, like I want to watch them. Like I'm learning from them. And I think that we don't talk enough about this. Like it's as much as an entrepreneurship path can be very lonely, that's a choice. And that's something that I chose the first 3 years because I felt there's nobody around. But looking back on it, people were around, but I decided to do it my way, right?
Definitely. Your work includes things like workshop retreats, sound therapy, aromatherapy. How did those practices become a part of your journey? So walk me through what a retreat looks like that you give for your clients.
Yeah, I started incorporating retreats. So my coaching first began mostly with one-on-one coaching. So I would have what I call a strategy call. It's 30 minutes. I have about 5 questions, and my hopefully future clients will find out because we got to be a good fit, right? Both of us. So they would answer that, and so I'd be prepared for our call. And every single call that I had with potential clients, I would always say, by the end of this call, you will have an action plan. Whether you hire me or not, that's not the point. You need to be able to have clarity. You need to have an action plan. That is my role. If you want me to help you along the way, I'm here for you. But you can do everything we talk about in 30 minutes. You can do it by yourself. So the reason I coach that way, even from the first call, is because that's the kind of client that I want, right? So that's how I started doing one-on-one. I'm still doing one-on-one coaching now, which I really love too. My clients are amazing. And what I found was some of these clients were asking me, hey, do you lead retreats? And I'm like, well, what would you want in a retreat? And they're like, well, everything that we do here, but like, let's go deeper. And then they would say to me, I want to meet your other clients. Like, I want to learn from them too, because they're from different industries. And so I started creating 3-day retreats. And the first day was always around mindset. Was really, because it's difficult, You go from being an entrepreneur 24/7, now we're on a retreat. So how do you turn that off? You really can't, right? There needs to be a buffer. So that first day is like I call a buffer, but it's really decompressing. Okay, send your last email, have your last phone call. There's no guilt here, day 1. But when we go to bed, that phone is off tomorrow. Like if something happens and the world ends, we're all together, right? What I like to say is like, if I'm your 911, my friends know this. If I'm your 911, I'm sorry. I'm not going to answer. They know.
Right.
And a lot of that, has to do with like trauma bonding, right? If we think about it, right? I don't know. Again, I don't know about you. For me, like growing up, being always available with family, like that was also a trauma. So when I moved away to New York for 10 years, it was like, wow, what do I do when I'm not always trying to do and to be for everybody, right? So that was part of me like unlearning that and rewiring. So anybody who becomes a new friend of mine, I always tell them, hey, just so you know, between 10 p.m. and 11 a.m., you're not going to hear from me. Something happens to you, I should not be 911. 911 should be your 911. So I think, being able to bring that into my retreats, but then hearing like my clients hearing from each other. Like
Like
that.
their testimonies.
Oh, it's huge because they themselves got to talk about, oh, the first time Lupita, asked me to do this, I was like, what? She's crazy. And then somebody would be like, oh, she didn't make me do that. She asked me to do this. And they were like, what? So that was always really cool to see within themselves. So day 2 was really kind of like going deep on where are you still hiding? Okay. And that can be business and that can be personal, but where are you still hiding? And when you think about your business, what are the areas that you want to make more successful? Like, what does that really look like? So we talked about that. And then the third day, we're actually putting the plan together, right? So it's really just getting things out and talking, because as an entrepreneur, usually it's all here, or maybe you're talking to ChatGPT, but like you're just having that conversation. But now to have almost like a mastermind, and usually I would have like 8 people or less. At my retreats, I don't want it to have bigger because that makes it more intimate. And I always loved at the end of the retreat to find out that they actually started collaborating with each other, or, just taking it further. That it wasn't just like, oh, we met through Lupita. That was really great. Like, no.
Let's network.
That's the whole point. Let's collaborate.
Right. That's amazing. Lupita, truly, I mean, sitting here with you and just hearing from this kind of standpoint of entrepreneurship, it's new to me. I've never heard anybody come from this approach. So thank you so much for coming in and just giving us a little piece of who you are and what you do. So for our audience listening, for anyone listening who is entrepreneur, who is on their journey to entrepreneurship, who feels overwhelmed, stuck, or confused about where they are on their journey, what would you want to say to them as a human to human, not just a coach, like human?
Whether you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, you're already in the trenches, or maybe you're at the point where you're going to give up, because I've been there. I want you to ask yourself one question. When entrepreneurship asked you the question, will you be an entrepreneur? Will you launch, fill in the blank, your business? Will you impact, fill in the blank, the type of person? If you're okay walking away from that, then walk away from that. But if when you hear me ask you that question, you're like, no, oh my gosh, there almost feels upset or disgust from walking away, then stick it through. And the way that I would say that is, look around your community. Where there is a chamber of commerce? Is there mentorship? Are there other entrepreneurs that you can tap into, whether online or in person? Maybe even talk to a coach. But what I will tell you not to do, don't isolate, don't disconnect, don't go down that rabbit hole of asking yourself questions or doubting yourself in this path. As I mentioned at the beginning, entrepreneurship has already asked you the question. Are you going to answer? And that's always going to be your choice. It'll be a choice every single day, every single hour, every single minute. I should know over the past 10 years. So it's not if you're brave or courageous, because you already have heart. It's really understanding that you're not in this alone. So take off, wipe off your glasses. I have glasses, so wipe off your glasses and look to your right and look to your left. Who is there that you can really link arms with? Because some of the people that I found, because I stopped and I wiped off my glasses, I would have never imagined. So stop throwing yourself a pity party and let's get out there.
Lupita, again, thank you again for coming to the studio. Now, before we go off, can you please just tell our audience where they can find you on social media and how they can get a hold of you?
Definitely. On Instagram, you can find me at Ignite the Fire Inside. And on Facebook, it's Ignite the Fire Inside Wellness. I will say this has been an exceptional experience being here in the studio and hearing the mission and heart behind what's being created here locally. There's nothing really like this that I've really heard of or seen here, especially in Lakeland, for goodness sakes, like in, Polk County, my home county. So I'm really excited to see what's going to continue to evolve, not only here, but beyond. And I want to say that if you're watching this and you're curious how you can help and tap in and help expand it, you need to contact them. I'm sure, like any other entrepreneur, they'd be happy to get a DM, an email, and see how that can be expanded. So definitely know that they're someone to be watching.